Good evening. You're watching the News at 6 with me, Shan Russell. The News at 6 is all about the day's biggest developing stories, and we'll be filling in on them over the next half hour. But first, the headlines that we're tracking right now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi visits the Pathankot Air Force Base to take first-hand look at the situation there. He met Air Force personnel there and lauded them for their bravery and determination. Pakistan's military and political leadership promised cooperation in the Pathankot probe as US urges Pak to act fast. PDP and BJP dismiss speculation of a rift, say the coalition will continue, but there's no hurry to choose the next chief minister. And after a dramatic armed standoff, Mexico recaptures world's most notorious drug lord, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. The top story this evening, Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the Pathankot Air Force Base today to take a first-hand look at the situation there. He met Air Force personnel there and lauded them for their bravery and determination. The Prime Minister also seemed satisfied with the decision-making and its execution during the terror attack. Officials also briefed the Prime Minister in great detail on how the forces neutralized the deadly attack. After the visit, the Prime Minister also noted the coordination among various field units and said that the men and women on the ground were the nation's pride. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the Pathankot Air Force Base attracted sharp criticism from the opposition parties. Most of them picked hold on the NDA's government's policy of engagement with Pakistan. The air base was attacked less than a week ago by Pakistani terrorists.
A week after terrorists wreaked havoc at the strategic Air Force Base in Pathankot, Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the base for a first-hand assessment of the situation. Opposition parties, however, once again asked the NDA government to make amends in its policy of engagement with Pakistan.
Well, nothing will happen. Well, the Pakistanis are not interested in peace. The government of India should realize that we've been trying it for the last 36 years. It's not worked, and it's not going to work. So rather than clutching at straws and rather than trying to validate every little statement which comes out of Pakistan, the Prime Minister and the government of India need to find a new template of dealing with Pakistan. And the first milestone in that new template is calling off the Foreign Secretary level talks.
इनकी कूटनीतिक फेलियर है, इनका वो तो उसका पर्दाफाश हो गया। डे वन से हो रहा है। जिस तरह की लंबी चौड़ी बात करते थे और जिस तरह से हमारे सैनिक शहीद हो रहे हैं, हमारी सीमा का उल्लंघन हो रहा है, आतंकवादी घटनाएं ये जब आते हैं बढ़ती है।
The ruling party, meanwhile, has defended the steps taken by the government after last week's terror attack.
Pathankot incident is a very serious terrorist attack. The Prime Minister today, Narendra Modi ji, is in Pathankot, and obviously we are all concerned about it, and as the Ministry of External Affairs has said, we expect some prompt action.
6 terrorists believed to owe allegiance to Pakistan-based Jaish-e-Mohammed were gunned down by the security forces after a 4-day gun battle at the Air Force Base last week. 7 security personnel also lost their lives in the attack. Vishal Dahiya, Rajya Sabha TV, Delhi.
Now let's go across to our correspondent Vishal Dahiya for more on this story. Vishal, the opposition stepping up its attack as far as the government's engagement with Pakistan goes. How's the government responding?
Well, yes, it has been quite a few days now, Ishan, but we've seen that relentless attack from the opposition continuing. In fact, the main opposition party, Congress, has been fielding some of its senior leaders every day to pose questions to the government on its policy of engagement with Pakistan. Now, what seems to be the underlying message out here from the opposition parties to the government is that they need to make amends to their, the foreign policy vis-a-vis Pakistan in the light of these recent terror attacks and cut short the dialogue process until and unless the promises which have been made by the Pakistani establishment of acting against those who indulge in acts of terror against India, until and unless that some solid evidence of that action being taken by the Pakistani authorities is not imminent, the Indian government should not go ahead with the dialogue process. But it seems the government on its parts is pretty satisfied with the kind of strategy it is working through. What our sources in the government say that the government, rather the External Affairs Ministry as well as the Prime Minister's office seems very confident at this stage that until and unless some sort of very structured steps are being taken by the Pakistani establishment on the evidences which are being given by the Indian government or Indian agencies, then the entire path ahead which was planned for the talks might not be the way as it is planned now.
All right, Vishal, also to understand, because a lot of newspapers and other media outlets have also reported that there were serious lapses in decision-making as far as the Pathankot airbase attack was concerned. So, in that sense, is there any stock-taking measure that the government is adopting, and is the opposition targeting the government on this as well?
Well, yes, the government is under attack on that count as well from the opposition, and there are in fact several steps which have been taken by the government. One, the entire probe of how the attack happened on the Pathankot air base was given to NIA, and it has done its initial part of the probe. Now it has even summoned that controversial Superintendent of Police of the Punjab, who was the first one to be taken hostage by the terrorist that day. He has also been summoned to New Delhi, and sources say he'll have to undergo a lie detector test. Apart from that, the BSF on its part is also making that rather recreating this entire scene to try and find out as to how exactly the terrorists got into the Indian territory, and from there onwards how they reached the Pathankot airbase. But one very important point out here is the agencies involved in this probe are also trying to find out whether or not there was an insider hand as well, since there have been 2 arrests of serving personnel from the Pathankot airbase who were in touch with the spy who was caught just 4 days before the attack happened. So all these facets of this entire incident are being covered by several agencies. It'll be a little while before we get a clearer picture, but it seems the government is in no mood to try and let any slip go unnoticed.
All right, on that note, we'll have to wrap it up, but Vishal will keep a track of the story. Thanks so much for now, Vishal. Now, in a first, Pakistan's military and political leadership have promised full cooperation with India in investigating the Pathankot attacks and tackling terror in the region. Pakistan's NSA, Sartaj Aziz, meanwhile said that the foreign secretary-level talks between India and Pakistan will be held on the 15th of January. With tensions simmering, the US also urged Pakistan to act fast against the perpetrator of the Pathankot attack.
पठानकोट का जो वाक़या हुआ है मैं उसको बहुत कंडेम करता हूं, और ऐसे वाक़यात हमेशा जब भी पाकिस्तान और इंडिया के दरमियान जब भी मामलात बेहतरी की तरफ जाते हैं, अमन की तरफ जाते हैं, तो ऐसे वाक़यात होते हैं कि ये टास्क जो है ना वो डीरेल हो जाए.
Pakistan condemning the Pathankot attack in one voice. Pak Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and Pak Army Chief General Raheel Sharif pledged to fully cooperate with India on the probe into attack. The high-level meeting on Friday was also attended by ISI Chief, DG Military Operations and National Security Advisor.
दोनों लीडरशिप ने ये मतलब माना है कि खित्ते के अंदर अमन के लिए और इंडिया और पाकिस्तान दोनों मुल्कों की तरक्की के लिए.
Pak NSA Sartaj Aziz said that foreign secretaries of both India and Pakistan are scheduled to meet on January 15th. They are expected to decide on details of further meetings planned under the newly agreed comprehensive bilateral dialogue. However, uncertainty still looms large over the scheduled talks.
We expect that, as per his promise to Narendra Modi, Sharif will now take actual action to clamp down on these terrorist elements in his country. And so we'll see as to what is actually the outcome of this conference through the action of the Pakistan state.
At this point in time, perhaps it would be prudent for India to give Pakistan some time and space, because we have given them the evidence. To my mind, as an analyst, the quality of the technical intelligence is of a high order. Pakistan should be able to act against the perpetrators. It will be a very slow process, which is why I think India will have to take a political decision about the foreign secretary level talks on the 15th. The United States and other interlocutors are also encouraging India to give Pakistan some space.
With tension simmering on both sides, the US said Pakistan must walk the talk on Pathankot attack and the perpetrators of the attack should be brought to justice. Putting the ball squarely in Pakistan's court, India had linked the Foreign Secretary level talks to Islamabad's prompt and decisive action on the Pathankot terror attack. According to Indian intelligence inputs, groups and people within Pakistan planned and executed the deadly attack. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And for more on this, let's go across to our correspondent Akhilesh Suman. He joins us on the phone line. Akhilesh, as far as India and Pakistan are concerned, this time what is different is that both are wanting to come to the talking table. And Pakistan, this time also the military establishment coming on board with the political establishment. But still, 15th is a week away, so anything could happen in the intervening time, couldn't it?
Yeah, this is really a $1 million question, because what bottom line India has created since the attack has taken place, that something should be on the ground visible that Pakistan is trying to do something against the perpetrators of the crime. And Pakistan establishment has said that we are trying to do whatever information you have given. But what is coming from behind the scene, that they are telling that this intelligence are not enough to put them under the court of law. So one is just trying to analyze that, what does it mean? Because at a time when Rahil Sharif was also with Nawaz Sharif, I think this is the first time that both Prime Minister and also the Army Chief of Pakistan are singing in the same tune. And this is the only silver lining, that India is trying to not to be too harsh on Pakistan. And I think that it is only the time to come to say that what comes out of Pakistani establishment, whether some of the arrests are taking place or not. Because these are the intelligence that can be actionable on the ground. Some arrests must be done before foreign secretary of both the countries are coming on the talking table. I think this is the bottom line, that some movement on the ground in Pakistan, some arrests must be done before foreign secretary talks in Islamabad.
All right, so we'll have to wait and watch as to how the situation develops, and Akhilesh will keep a track of the story for us. Thanks so much for now, Akhilesh. Well, on that note, we'll take a very quick break. A lot more on the other side. Do stay tuned.
Tales that inspire, stories of social change. A salute to diversity, promoting public discourse. Events that motivate, inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries every Friday at 10:30 p.m, Saturday 12:30 p.m, and Sunday at 1 p.m.
Hello and a very warm welcome to a brand new edition of World Panorama with me, Frank Pereira.
Barack Obama has been elected on the basis that I will no longer take America into wars, and in fact quite the opposite, I will pull America out of wars.
According to the Indian government, fishermen are not at fault.
The US intervention in Iraq set the stage for exacerbation of these conflicts, and then the intervention in Syria.
Watch World Panorama at these times on Rajya Sabha television.
Art arisen from a multi-hued cultural canvas. Tradition and cultural fervor dating back centuries. And encircling them all, there's a magic that awes. Embrace your nation's brilliant human warmth. Watch Colours of India, Sundays at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news at 6. Now, allies in Jammu and Kashmir, the PDP and the BJP have dismissed speculation about any differences over new conditions over government formation in the state. BJP state president said the historic coalition would continue, but there's no hurry to form the government. There have been rumours that a delay in the new government formation in the wake of Mufti Muhammad Saeed's death has been due to differences between the two allies. A decision will only be taken after the 4-day mourning period ends. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj has called upon all Indian nationals living abroad to be a part of India's development. She also called on Indians in crisis-ridden countries to hear India's advisory from time to time and come back to the country if so advised.
External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj attended the first limited edition of Pravasi Bharatiya Divas in the national capital to mark the contribution of the Indian diaspora to the country's development.
हमने 10 मुद्दे छांटे हैं, जिसमें खाड़ी के देशों के श्रमिकों के मुद्दे हैं, जिसमें पीआईओ कंट्रीज के अपने मुद्दे हैं, एजुकेशन शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में इंडियन डायस्पोरा को कैसे एंगेज किया जाए ये मुद्दे हैं। इस तरह के 10 मुद्दे हमने छांटे हैं और हर महीने एक मुद्दे पर हम चर्चा करेंगे, जिसमें 10 प्रवासी भारतीयों को बुलाएंगे, 5 विशेषज्ञ भारत से होंगे। ये 15 लोगों का समूह दिन भर बैठेगा और दिन भर चर्चा करने के बाद हमें सिफारिशें देगा और मैं और राज्य मंत्री स्वयं उन चिंतन समूहों के साथ बैठेंगे।
Through the Ministry of External Affairs that has merged with the Ministry of Overseas Indian Affairs, the Prime Minister is trying to invite all Indian expatriates to come back and contribute to India's flagship programs.
महीना भर पहले से उन्हें पता लग जाता है कि उनके प्रधानमंत्री कब आ रहे हैं। वो स्वयं तैयारी करते हैं उसमें जाने की। और सबसे बड़ी बात है कि मीटिंग एक रस्म निभाई के लिए नहीं होती। प्रधानमंत्री अपनी बात कहते हैं, उनकी बात सुनते हैं, उनकी समस्याओं को जानकर यहाँ आते हैं, उनकी पीड़ाओं को लेकर आते हैं और यहाँ आकर उसका समाधान करते हैं। ये एक संपर्क है जो इस सरकार के आने के बाद प्रवासियों के साथ बढ़ा है।
This year, the Pravasi Bharatiya Divas was celebrated in a low-key manner on Saturday in the presence of ambassadors of several countries. Sushma Swaraj communicated with Indians in many cities including London, Dubai, Kuala Lumpur and Port Louis via video conferencing. The Pravasi Bharatiya Divas was first celebrated in 2003. Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, a week after it was constituted to look into the revamp of the censor board, the Shyam Benegal-led committee today met Information and Broadcasting Minister Arun Jaitley. The panel discussed the functioning and possible changes in guidelines and the policies of the censor board that had been mired in controversies. Renowned filmmaker Benegal has suggested amendments to the guidelines and reworking the scope of the board for clearing movies. The panel will be submitting its detailed report to the government in 2 months. Apart from Jaitley, Union Minister of State for Information and Broadcasting Rajya Singh Rathore was also present at the meet. The panel includes filmmaker Rakesh Prakash Mehra, adman Piyush Pandey and film critic Bhavna Sumaya. National Film Development Council MD Neena Lal Gupta and Joint Secretary Films Sanjay Murthy are also part of the panel. Time now to take a look at what else has been making news around the country nationwide. At least 2 people have reportedly been killed in a grenade blast at Meghalaya's William Nagar. 6 injured have been admitted to a local hospital. Police suspect the hand of Garo National Liberation Army in the blast. Forensic and investigative teams have collected evidence from the blast site. So far, no group has claimed responsibility. Union Minister Ram Vilas Paswan today attacked the Nitish Kumar government in Bihar over the murder of an assistant sub-inspector of police. Calling the chief minister helpless, Paswan said that such a string of killings showed that Jungle Raj was back in the state. The LJP chief will be visiting his constituency tomorrow to take stock of the situation. Agitating students at the Jadavpur University have gherawed out their vice-chancellor and other officials since Friday evening over holding of student union elections. The students are protesting against the advisory by the State Higher Education Department saying that elections will not be held in February to avoid disturbance during exams. Students said that they want the VC to notify on their behalf that elections will be held on time. The CBI on Friday arrested Chairman cum Managing Director of Pearls Group Nirmal Singh Bangu and 3 other top officials in connection with an alleged 45,000 crore rupee scam. More than 5 crore investors were allegedly duped in the scam. The agency had registered a case of criminal conspiracy against him and his 2 companies. The 4 executives were arrested after detailed questioning at the agency headquarters. Light snowfall was recorded in the most famous tourist resort of Pahalgam in South Kashmir today. Areas in the higher reaches, including places near the Amarnath Cave Shrine, also reported snowfall overnight, while other parts of the valley witnessed a drop in minimum temperatures. Kargil was the coolest place in the state with a low of minus 14 degrees Celsius. The Met Department said that the valley may witness wet weather next week. Some international news now, and Mexico has recaptured the world's most notorious drug lord, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. El Chapo had dominated international headlines when he staged a jaw-dropping jailbreak in July last year by escaping through a mile-long tunnel that burrowed right up into his cell.
On Friday, Mexico recaptured the world's most notorious drug lord, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. The arrest came after a violent standoff with US help 6 months after he humiliated President Enrique Peña Nieto by tunneling out of a maximum security prison.
Por eso, la detención de este día es sumamente importante para las instituciones de seguridad del Gobierno de la República. Hoy, nuestras instituciones.
Mexican Navy later released images of the house at which Guzman had reportedly stayed. Before his capture, Guzman is head of the powerful Sinaloa cartel and who Peña Nieto first caught in February 2014. The recapture involved Mexican Marines, US Drug Enforcement Administration and US Marshals. One photograph widely circulated on social media appeared to show Guzman sitting on a bed in handcuffs. Another photo appeared to show Guzman without handcuffs. Guzman now faces the prospect of extradition to the United States. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, in the wake of the mass attacks on New Year's Eve in Cologne, German Chancellor Angela Merkel says she is considering changes in the existing migrant laws. Merkel's conservative Christian Democrat Party is considering a proposal that migrants jailed for any length of time should face deportation. The party leadership is currently holding a policy meeting in the city of Mainz. Under current German laws, asylum seekers are only forcibly sent back if they've been sentenced to at least 3 years, providing their lives are not at risk in their countries of origin. The attacks on New Year's Eve have shocked the country and sparked a debate about Germany's open-door policy on migrants. Dozens of such sexual assaults and robberies were carried out by gangs of men of foreign descent on New Year's Eve. The police's handling of the events has also been sharply criticized. The head of the city police force has been suspended from his duties.
Aber ganz besonders werden wir natürlich auch noch einmal über das sprechen, was in der Nacht zum Neujahr passiert ist in Köln, aber wahrscheinlich auch anderswo. Und dazu möchte ich nur bemerken, dass erstens das Allerwichtigste ist, dass
Some more international news and updates now on Global Buzz. The Sri Lankan Parliament has begun a process to formulate a new constitution, with Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe presenting a resolution to set up a constitutional assembly of all members for the purpose. The current constitution, which introduced the executive presidential style of government, has been widely criticized for curtailing democratic rights of the people and minority rights. The Constitutional Council will have a group of experts to advise it and will seek public representation in drafting the new constitution. A gunman claiming to have pledged allegiance to the Islamic State militants was shot and seriously wounded a Philadelphia officer. The gunman fired about 11 shots while the officer sat in his patrol car in an ambush-style attack. The attacker was arrested, but the police say they did not know whether he had any contact with the radicals or terror groups. British Defence Secretary Michael Fallon met his Japanese counterpart in Tokyo with the aim of further strengthening ties and developing defence technology and equipment. Japan and Britain are trying to forge the acquisition and cross-servicing agreement, which allows the two countries to exchange common types of support, including food, fuel, transportation, ammunition and equipment. The UN envoy met a Syrian foreign minister in Damascus ahead of planned peace talks later this month. Envoy de Mustura's visit comes a day after Syrian rebels said they were under international pressure to make concessions that would prolong the war. Opposition leaders have said that the government must take goodwill steps before any negotiations. The peace talks are scheduled for the 25th of January in Geneva. Time now for all the sports action and sports beat. Indian wildcard Ramkumar Ramanathan lost an intensely fought quarter-final against Britain's Aljaz Bedene at the Chennai Open. The 21-year-old saved 4 match points before losing 7-6, 4-6, 3-6 to the British number 2. Earlier top seed Stan Wawrinka beat Guillermo Garcia Lopez 6-4, 6-4 to reach the semi-final. He will face France's Benoit Paire for a place in the final. Pacer Mohammad Shami has been ruled out of the one-day and T20 squads following a hamstring injury. Shami, who just made a comeback to the national side following a 9-month-long injury break, has been ruled out of action for 4 to 6 weeks. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar has been named his replacement. Defending champion Roger Federer will meet Canadian Milos Raonic in the final of the Brisbane International. Swiss top seed eased past Austrian Dominic Thiem 6-1, 6-1 the semi-final. Raonic, on the other hand, had to toil hard against local contender Bernard Tomic 7-6, 7-6. Liverpool survived the scare from the League Two Exeter after a 2-2 draw in the FA Cup third round. Liverpool fell twice behind, but Brad Smith rescued the Reds with a neat finish. The third round will be replayed at Anfield. So that's all from us. Goodbye.